Hi everyone, I'm Tamara Pogue. I am one of the commissioners on Summit County's Board of County Commissioners. And this afternoon we approved Summit County's budget for the 2025 fiscal year. This is, I think, one of the most, if not the most important things that a commissioner does on a year-to-year basis. And this year was actually a little bit different from the last 2 years in that the legislature didn't change the amount of revenue we collected in between when our draft budget was introduced and when we approved the final budget today. So that actually makes it a little bit easier for us. It lets us better plan for Summit County's long-term needs from a service perspective and a revenue perspective. I think the most important element of this year's budget is that there is a historic investment in Summit County's roads. Driving around, I know you all share this feeling with me. We have gotten really behind on our road maintenance. So this year we've authorized an additional $10 million in road and bridge spending to start the rebuilding of Swan Mountain Road. Smaller projects, neighborhoods like Frisco Terrace, Dillon Valley, certainly some more projects in Breckenridge, and our hope is that if we are able to do this for another couple of years after this year, we'll begin to catch up to where we really need to be. We start our budget process in June, actually, although I think by some county standards that's actually a little bit late. This year we instructed our staff to give us a flat budget, so no growth, no increases year over year. And then our staff do an incredible amount of work, and I really do want to take a second to thank them for all of their work. They do an incredible amount of work until I think it's October, if I have that right, when they introduce to us their draft budget. And then we have a period of time between October and obviously this Tuesday in December, where we first of all, invite the public to make a comment on that process, where we hear from our Citizen Budget Advisory Committee on their recommendations, where we meet with all of our elected officials, and where we do deep dives into areas of significant spending, like our road and bridge budget, like our Strong Future budget, which is used for behavioral health and early childhood and wildfire mitigation. So we do all those meetings between mid-October and the beginning of December, and then the staff come back after all of that input from the public and all of the input from the board, and they deliver a final budget for our consideration, which is what we did today. And ultimately, we pass the budget because we believe that it provides the best level of service to Summit County residents that we possibly can. And I'm sure right below the screen right now, the link will pop up, and you can go and look. It is an incredibly complex document. I think, folks in Summit County, what I would hope folks would understand is that the majority of funding for Summit County comes from property taxes, and that actually the biggest part of our general fund are things that were approved by the voters. So Strong Futures is a massive part of our budget, and that was voted on by the public in 2018, and those dollars can only be used for what you all told us we should use it for, which is early childhood, behavioral health, wildfire mitigation, recycling, and a small piece for infrastructure buildings. For example, we just are completing the search and rescue facility. So those dollars are mandated to be spent in a certain way by the public, and then the rest of the general fund are things that the state requires us to fund. Things like human services, certainly roads, law enforcement is about 41% of our general fund at this point. I mean, really what we're trying to do here is to make sure that the budget reflects what we hear from the public is their priority. And so in this case, what I've heard as a commissioner overwhelmingly is that folks really want to see us make progress on the state of our roads, and that's what we're prioritizing.